Today we'll be reading from Canto 4, Chapter 22. Verse number 3. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam Hridiyantasto hi abhadrani vidhunoti satam Nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. So we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, verse number 3. Taddarshanotgatan pranan pratyaditsur ivottitaha sasadasyanugo vaina indriyayesho gunaniva. Taddarshanotgatan pranan prayaditsur ivottitaha sasadaya nugo vainya indriyesho gunan iva. Taddarshanotgatan pranan pratyaditsur ivottitaha sadasyanugo vainya indriyesho gunaniva. Are there any volunteers who would like to recite this?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Done with Pranam, Prabhu.
Taddarshano udgatan pranan pratyajitshu vibhotita sasadashanu vavanya indriyeshu gunaniva. Hare Krishna Mataji, I'm also trying.
Yes, Prabhu.
Taddarshanodgatan pranan pratyaditshur ivottitaha sasadasyanugo vainya indriyeshu gunaniva.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Taddarshanotgatan pranan pratyaditshur ivottitaha sasadasyanugo vainya indriyeshu gunaniva. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am also trying.
Yes, Mataji.
Taddarshanat gatan pranan pratyaditsur ivottitaha sasadasyanugo vainya indriyasho gunan iva. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else? Okay. Let's read the synonyms, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Tat, him. Darshana, seeing. Udgatan, being greatly desired. Pranan, life. Pratyaditsuhu, peacefully going. Iva, like. Uttitaha, got up. Sa, with. Sadasya, associates or followers. Anugaha, officers. Vainya, King Prithu. Indriya, Isha, a living entity. Gunaniva, as influenced by the modes of material nature. Seeing the four Kumaras, Prithu Maharaj was greatly anxious to receive them. Therefore, the king, with all his officers, very hastily got up, as anxiously as a conditioned soul whose senses are immediately attracted by the modes of material nature. In Bhagavad Gita 3:27, it is stated, Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Every conditioned soul is influenced by a particular mixture of the modes of material nature. As such, the conditioned soul is attracted to certain types of activities which he is forced to perform because he is completely under the influence of material nature. Here, Prithu Maharaj is compared to such a conditioned soul, not because he was a conditioned soul, but because he was so anxious to receive the Kumaras that it was as if without them he would have lost his life. The conditioned soul is attracted by the objects of sense gratification. His eyes are attracted to see beautiful things. His ears are attracted to hear nice music. His nose is attracted to enjoy the aroma of a nice flower. And his tongue is attracted to taste nice food. Similarly, all his other senses, his hands, his legs, his belly, his genitals, his mind, etc., are so susceptible to the attraction of the objects of enjoyment that he cannot restrain himself. Prithu Maharaj, in the same way, could not restrain himself from receiving the four Kumaras, who were bribed by dint of their spiritual progress. And thus, not only he himself, but his officers also and his associates all received the four Kumaras. It is said, birds of a feather flock together. In this world, everyone is attracted by a person of the same category. A drunkard is attracted to persons who are also drunkards. Similarly, a saintly person is attracted by other saintly persons. Prithu Maharaj was in the topmost position of spiritual advancement, and as such, he was attracted by the Kumaras, who were of the same category. It is said, therefore, that a man is known by his company. It's such a beautiful translation in purport, talking about the power of association. We'll begin delving more into it after our invocation prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpati Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Veer Krishna Das Goswami Niti Namine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we have come to the 22nd chapter, where here Prithu Maharaj, while talking to his citizens, the citizens, while praising Prithu Maharaj, the four Kumaras come from, suddenly appear. So as they suddenly they arrive on the spot, we also come to know that yesterday we read, seeing the glowing effulgence of the four Kumaras, the master of all mystic power, the king and his associates would recognize them as they descended from the sky. Then they were not someone who were from this planet. In the purport yesterday, we mentioned really, Srila Prabhupada here in the purport mentioned really important points, that however the special power of the Kumaras mentioned here with is that whatever place these four Kumaras would go, that would immediately become sinless. And during the reign of Maharaj Prithu, everything on the surface of this globe was sinless. And therefore the Kumaras decided to see the king. Ordinarily, they do not go to any planet which is sinful. And in this verse, there is this eagerness to receive the four Kumaras by Prithu Maharaj. We very clearly know that Prithu Maharaj is a Shaktavesha avatar. And of course, wherever there is God or empowerment that is given to someone by God, by the Lord, by Krishna, that person has the power to actually remove the sins. For example, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada has given us this method where we can also become sinless. So this verse discusses a few things, that a man is known by his company. Then there are a few other phrases like the birds of same feathers flock together. These tell that we are all inclined towards the association and its power that we have, the conscious power that we have when we are in particular association. And this also clearly, in this verse, Srila Prabhupada clearly mentions that how one can be attracted to something or someone by something that he or she associates with. So 3 aspects from this verse are discussed here. Aspect number 1 is conditioned soul. 2, modes of material nature. And 3, how living entity is attracted to a particular object. So we'll discuss part 1 first. Who is a conditioned soul? And why are we conditioned? We are conditioned because there's this attraction for sense gratification. And this attraction for sense gratification isn't over. And the moment we enter into this material modes, they start playing with us, and we think I am the doer. So Srila Prabhupada starts with this purport from Bhagavad Gita. Prakrite kriya manani gunai karmani sarvasya ahankara vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. So the third line, ahankara vimudhatma, because we are in the we are pouring life to false ego, because of our less intelligence, we start thinking that I am the doer. Actually, I'm not the doer. I am the desirer. So as I desire, Krishna employs the material modes of nature to act upon us, and so that the desire and the material modes of nature, when they work together, and according to our karma, if something is feasible for us to gain, we gain it. And the ultimate sanctioner here is Krishna. Krishna sanctions our desires. How Krishna sanctions our desires? Because Krishna is sitting in our heart. He knows each and every desire of the heart. And Krishna, being all compassionate, is wanting us to come back so that we fulfill these desires, and then we get frustrated with what we are desiring. With this, Krishna wants us to come back, but we are so conditioned that we've forgotten. Like when we drive a car, we're so conditioned where the brake is, where the steering is, where this and where that is of the car. And because we are driving in our conditioned state, what really happens is we're very much prone to accident, because we are going to make mistakes there. So therefore, this conditioning is called unawareness. That unawareness is something that we're very unaware of the desires we are looking for. We want those desires to be fulfilled. These unaware desires make us keep or remain conditioned in the material world. So Krishna employs these modes of material nature to help us fulfill our desires. Another example is if we want to sleep. We can't sleep in the mode of goodness. And so mode of ignorance makes us enjoy that sleep, because there's a desire to sleep. So Krishna has also divided the whole day in different modes of material nature. Like morning hours are the mode of goodness. The afternoon hours or from 9 to 5, that's why everyone is really active and passionate about and creative about work done. So these hours are the hours of mode of passion. And by the end of the day, we delve into the mode of ignorance. Also in the mode of ignorance, many unwanted things happen. So in this diseased condition of being with the material nature and the propensity to enjoy the material nature, material benefits, we risk ourselves to get infected from this disease of material nature. Therefore, in this conditioned state, we just risk by having multiple desires. As we are stuck, like we can take an example of a doctor who's stuck in his medical room with a patient who is also prone to infection. So the doctor also risks himself for the sake of his job, for the sake of his family. So in order to keep up his job risk, he entertains that. So this infection of desire has actually made a huge house in our consciousness, in our existence. And we're trying really, really hard to maintain this house of desires. This house, for example, when we buy why I've taken this example of house, when we buy a house with limited deposit or whatever, this in the Western world there's this mortgage facility, then we we work really hard to pay off the mortgage. And then we are working hard to get our desires fulfilled. And that when the time of enjoyment actually comes, we are not available. It's gone. And we become old and we can't really maintain that big house. And then what we do, we downsize it. Have we really enjoyed in the material world? That's our question. Have we really enjoyed that house from this? We know that there are treasures in the material nature, but from those treasures, we can use these treasures in the service of Krishna so that we are from this conditioned state, we become liberated stage. So our conditioned state is the produce of our desires to enjoy. And there's another important point here that we can't be fixed, because Srila Prabhupada mentions that every conditioned soul is influenced by a particular mixture of the modes of material nature. So we are a mix of modes of material nature. We can't say this person is situated completely in mode of goodness, or completely in mode of passion, or completely in mode of ignorance. We are a mixture of goodness. And if we are in goodness, there's this quality of goodness, passion, and ignorance within goodness. So there's a nice blend of our conditioning in this mode of material nature. So as we see that these mixtures are there, we are always in the mix of modes. So the power of association is these 4Ks, the 4 Kumaras, are sinless. And therefore, so Prithu Maharaj is also sinless. And he's attracted. We come to the 4th point. How someone is attracted. How someone is attracted to a particular object or particular individual. So that's the power of association. These 4 Kumaras are sinless, and so is Prithu Maharaj, who is sinless. Therefore, he is attracted to be in their association. And that's happening because of the law of attraction. There's this natural inclination of actually mixing up with those who are what we like to be with. So we get attracted to things and people we desire to be with. This point is quite important here. In the purport, here Prithu Maharaj is compared to such a conditioned soul. Not because he was a conditioned soul, but he was so anxious to receive the Kumaras that it was as if without them, he would have lost his life. So this is the desire. When the desire is strong, we feel that there's nothing else left except to fulfill that desire. So this is where Prithu Maharaj was feeling that his life would, if he does not remain in the association of the 4 Kumaras, he has lost his life. He's lost the purpose of it. And therefore, we see that because we're not able to fulfill our desires, we end up getting depressed, or we are anxious about our tomorrow, or whatever we may think, and we feel that there's no purpose in life. That's why finding ourselves rightly situated in Krishna consciousness is also very important. Because if we are not rightly situated, we may think Krishna consciousness itself is an illusion, and therefore there's no purpose in following any of the needs to be Krishna conscious. There's this in the last sentence, Indriyeshu Gunaniva. So this talks about the Guna Sangha. Guna Sangha. means guna means the quality. Whatever the guna the person associates with, that guna is transferred into the other person, or he takes that guna. So this is the transformation of consciousness. For example, Srila Prabhupada mentions here, in this world, everyone is attracted by a person of the same category. A drunkard is attracted to persons who are also drunkards. Let's take an example of a school student. We can go back to our school days and we see that some of us were backbenchers, some of us were like really not wanting to associate with people who would achieve high, or some of us were really high achievers and did not want to associate with students who were in the bad association. But what a teacher does, if a teacher mixes the whole class, then we see that the class dynamics totally changes. One student who is really not wanting to work hard, even though he has the intelligence. So all of us have that intelligence, but we don't want to use that. So if that student does not want to work hard is made to sit with a student who is really hardworking, then there's definitely the transfer of consciousness when they two are together. There's this transfer of consciousness. So this transfer of consciousness changes our way of thinking and our way to adapt and the inspiration. Therefore, the association really matters. The association is really important. Why? Because we are social beings and we are inspired by each other. But what kind of association it should be? That association should not challenge our spiritual life. Association should inspire us in our spiritual life. And that's why the best association is, Srila Prabhupada repeatedly says, read my books. That's the best association one can get of Srila Prabhupada directly. Then there are spiritual masters where that association helps us inspire more when we know our realities and where we are at. Association with the like-minded devotees. That's why in the Shastras there are Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, Uttam Adhikari. This is not to create divisions between or discrimination between the community of devotees. It is to see where we are at and associate with some people or some devotees who can inspire us in our in our Krishna consciousness. On the contrary, for women, let's say, if our desire or if our inclination is towards gossip or backbiting or this or that, then good association may not be really healthy for us. We may be thinking, oh, I'm in the wrong place. And that association will always be looking for association where these things are happening. And we might not know that I have that propensity. So in that case, we have to be so careful about who are we with. First, who am I? So that I know who I can be with. So that's Guna Sangha. And this purport, Srila Prabhupada has very beautifully mentioned so many things in subtle and clear forms, subtle as well as clear forms, that we are in the material modes of nature. There's no second thought about it. We are in the material world. There's no second thought about it. We have desires. No second, we can't be without desires. But then what desires can lead us go back to Godhead? And why are we stuck here? What is the reason of our being stuck here? Do we really want to go? That's also one of the questions that is put onto us. Do we really want to go or enjoy here in the material realm where we are busy fulfilling our desires? Therefore, Krishna consciousness movement is purification of desires. It's an internal process. Desires are not external. It's an internal process. Externally, we may be doing our work, we may be maintaining our households, we may be doing whatever. But this verse is giving us a chance to think, what exactly are we desiring? And is our desire pure? Is it related to Krishna? First of all, let's have a check. Do I really want to be with Krishna? Because Krishna's association is all dependent on our desire that we want. And Krishna, however, externally we may be saying, yes, yes, I want to go back to Godhead. Krishna knows our desires because he's sitting in our heart. Krishna himself has said. So he's sitting in our heart, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sanivishto. He's sitting in our heart. He's giving us that remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness. But at the end of the day, it's for us who has to desire to go back to Krishna. Krishna is always willing to take us back. It's just us. And if our efforts are not pure, we really can't go back to that pure world, that world where purity is the essence. Everything is pure, because where there is Krishna, everything is pure. Like in this verse, we read that where there is Maharaj Prithu, there was no sin. Yeah, so this is what I can understand and comment on. But if there's anything else, anybody else wants to say anything or add, or I really like this sentence saying is similarly, all of his other senses, his hands, his legs, blah, blah, are so susceptible to the attraction of the objects of enjoyment that he cannot restrain himself. He cannot restrain himself. So restraining is a very, very difficult thing, because if the mind is busy in sense satisfaction, the intelligence has to help the mind. So, and in Krishna, in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has, Arjuna said that mind is restless, obstinate. And Krishna agrees to that. Krishna says, yes, yes, no doubt about it. Mind is that. Mind is restless because mind has to be busy. Most of us are living in two worlds. We are living in the physical presence and the mental presence somewhere else. So because the mind has the capability to take us and drag us places, even if we don't want to, drag us to thoughts, even if we don't desire to, it has to control where it can be controlled. So therefore, it's quite difficult to restrain our desires, restrain the workings of mind. But by the purification of our intelligence, the mind can come. And therefore, for the purification of intelligence, the intentions have to be purified. What is my intention, first of all? When I was in Mayapur a few years ago, there was a very wonderful disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. He was taking us to the Navadvip Parikrama, a little bit of here and there, and he showed us some of the temples. And the striking point was we were standing in front of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Ram, and he was saying, please stand with that sincere honesty and say that I am the most fallen. Accept it and say, with your heart that I'm the most fallen. Not just pretend that, oh, I'm the most fallen. Feel that from your heart that, yes, I am stuck here and I'm the most fallen, Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to this, in this era, to take the fallen. So we are qualified to go back to Godhead because we are fallen. So the quality of going back to Godhead is to be fallen. And we are in the right state. We are fallen. But how sincere are we in our fallen state is what matters. So intention needs to be purified so that the intelligence is purified. And then automatically these restraining would become easy. We don't have to make extra efforts because Krishna knows how to deal with us more than we know how to deal with ourselves. So I'll take a halt here, and if there's anything else anybody wants to add or correct, or please feel free.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Wow. It's one of the most important thing that you highlighted, and how this power of association works throughout our practice. That was Srila Prabhu was trying to maintain and explain us how these conditions soul are attracted. So he has made a beautiful separated explanation for a person who is conditioned, how he acts, and a highly elevated person, how he is attracted with the highly attracted one, a highly elevated one. So that's why it is said, the birds of the same feather flock together. So that association is really a matter for us. When we associate, we need to understand the importance of association. As you rightly mentioned, that you associate and think that what desire you are for. If the desire is in a negative way, then it won't help you. If, as you exemplified here, to Mayapur, Vrindavan, as you all went there that time, at one place we are asked to pray to Lord Nityananda with your heart, what do you desire for? So that desire should be purified. If the purification of the desire is there, then automatically things get attracted to. That's why attraction is very, very important. Here you can see how Pitu Maharaj is attracted by the fourth Maharaj, because they are of the same nature. They are all sinful, sinless. That's why they are attracted to the same type of quality. As Prabhupada mentioned, how this drunkard is attracted by another drunkard. So that's the part from myself. Yeah. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, so Krishna consciousness is also, Krishna consciousness means the transfer of material consciousness to Krishna consciousness. Transformation.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the very nice class you have told, particularly about the conditioned soul. And one of the important reasons why we are is because we want to have more at the beginning itself. We want to enjoy independently. That's why we are in this material world. And the purpose of Krishna consciousness is to change our consciousness from that state, that we are not the real independent enjoyer. It is the Krishna who is the enjoyer, and we have to direct our consciousness that because everything belongs to the Lord, including our senses even as an example, that we think that we can control everything, but the moment the sense we are in, even the sense enjoyment we can do is dependent on the Lord. At the moment he withdraws it, A person, very intelligent person, he loses his memory, he loses his things. That means that it was given by Krishna and he can also withdraw it. If we just remember the very simple way that it doesn't belong.
Yeah.
And that understanding is Krishna consciousness. When we understand that he is the owner, then our consciousness, our enjoyment, everything changes. And that is the fundamental shift that takes place. And the Prabhupada has tried to speak this at different forum, at different places, and different people, depending upon the way they think, so that they can understand it. So the real purpose of Krishna consciousness is to change the consciousness, as you have rightly told, from material things to transcendental things, because it is not our things. We cannot independently do the things. The moment we understand we are not independent, then at the same time we can realize whatever quality I have in possession is actually being controlled by the Lord, and we cannot do it independently. And when we do that, the consciousness changes and we are in the right path. And another point in this regard, I think it may be relevant, but for the others to decide. And our Guru Maharaj, sometimes people say that how much I have progressed in the Krishna consciousness. That question comes to the devotees often, and it often asks us. But Guru Maharaj is one term, I think it is very relevant here also, that we should always consider how much change I have underwent about my consciousness. The qualities of a devotee is manifested in his action. And when if the quality have I got this quality? What the people say, I may claim that I have this quality, I'm very kind and all that, I'm very educated, but I'm useless. It is useless so long I am thinking what the others say about me. Is the things are being reflected in my action and everything. But if the others say that this person is so nice, he is so what I will say, he is very helpful, he is very he is very compassionate, and all these things has developed to a devotee. And when it develops, that is the real test of our progress, and it will be seen by the others and not for us to show, which is often in the material world. The opposite happens. Everyone tries to make that he is in possession of these qualities and try to influence others, but the concept is altogether different.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, that is my.
So true. That's why that third verse of Shiksha Ashtakam comes in place, that Amani Namane Dena Kirtanya Sadahari. So until unless we are humble, we are tolerant, and we have this desire not to gain respect, but to give respect, till then we can't be in that platform as well. So beautiful. Thank you, Prabhuji. If there is no one, then we can conclude the class.
So we take this, Mataji, there is no other persons to make comment. So thank you very much for the nice class. Vancha Kalpataru
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Anantapati Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Her Grace Radha Padma Mataji ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to assembled devotees. Hari Krishna.